for ignoring the righteousness that comes from God. The righteousness that comes from whom? They ignore it. And the people then question God. Why are there problems in the nations? They ask, why that hurricane? Where were you? Where were you when the plane fell from the sky? Where were you when the floods came? God says, I am in the same place, bothered because you ignore what I've done for you. That's why the governments, they struggle, and they'll continue to struggle. Don't you see that God is offended? He's bothered. They've ignored his righteousness. Imagine that he died being rich and became poor to enrich all the nations. We would have all been rich. And look at all the poverty because of folks that ignored God's righteousness. The righteousness of God you cannot ignore. You can ignore other things, but not his righteousness. You have weaknesses, God will deal with your weaknesses. But don't ignore him, because it's not going to go well. It says, verse 3, for ignoring the righteousness that comes from God and seeking instead to establish their own righteousness, they did not submit to God's righteousness. For Christ is the end of the law. You know what they say? No, that law, what is it that they say? The ceremonial laws. No. The 10 Commandments, those are the ones they need to keep. No, it says the end of it's the law. For I do not desire, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own opinion. If you ignore it, you become self-righteous. This is a knowledge that you have to be alerted. They're my enemies, but you have to understand that they're your enemies because of us being drawn near to provoke them to jealousy. But we love them, right? Because they're going to come. Not all, but the chosen. It says, lest you should be wise in your own opinion. That blindness in part has happened to Israel. In part. Who hardens? God is the one that hardens. God hardens. Not for eternity, but in part. Until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in. And what happens in verse 26? And so all Israel will be saved. All of Israel will be what? Saved. The Israel of God. Pastor, but 2,000 years have already gone by. Why don't they already hurry up and come? Because Growing in Grace Ministries had not yet been established. Until this ministry did not show up, no one had clarified these mysteries, and especially the way they're explained here. This has never been taught. I'm telling you, my blessed brethren, that I was 33,000 feet above sea level when the Lord explained this to me. Listen, but all of Israel will be saved. But first whom? First the Gentiles. Pastor, but what? We have to provoke them to jealousy? Yes, we provoke them to jealousy, speaking the way I speak.